I've turned it all on now, and I'm trying to get rid of that stupid bar. Come on, that's what the viewers want. Me struggling with that stupid bar. Oh, I was going to say that. I'll worry about that later. Um, Good evening, everyone, and welcome to session 6 of the Boys from the Baltic Star. Oh, the bar's gone. Everything's coming up. Millhouse, beautiful. Welcome to session 6 of Boys from the Baltic Star, a traveller tabletop roleplay game played by three. Is it hirsute, meaning hairy? Hirsute.
Hirsute is the word. Yes.
Hirsute gentlemen. If you don't already, follow us on Twitter at Boys Baltic. It's that bottom corner. That is an @ sign, not a sci-fi logo. I am Luke. I am the one with the white headphones. Ewan is the one in the middle. He is my fellow PC man, the hero, my Louise to my Thelma. I don't know which one is which in that film, but basically we're in it together. We're in it together, and standing against us is the villain in a man suit.
I resemble that remark.
It is our referee. It is Ben who will lead us into this evening's session.
Thank you. And welcome.
These are getting worse.
After making their preparations to leave their mark on Ossin, securing arrangements with Stanley Strife, the leader of the Riftsman's Guild, and Officer Pramus of the Imperial Navy, the travellers finished their plotting and set them in motion. At the governor's speech, the travellers murdered the governor and orchestrated the moment that Stanley Strife could demonstrate he was the natural leader to take over the planet. Strife spoke to the citizens, claiming his place as the new power on Ossin, even as Governor Krebs' body was still warm on the floor. In the moments after Strife's triumph, the travellers were contacted by Pramus, who asked them, I assume, clean up on aisle 3? And that is where we resume the story. I mean, to the second, where we resume the story. So, while you are hearing that, Sil Sava, who is the governor's assistant, has rushed over to his side, of course, and is looking down at his dead body in some dismay. And she collects herself enough to yell out to the security guards in the room, everyone stays. Nobody in, nobody out. And then she seems to almost deflate a bit and starts looking around the room for one of the waiters to bring her a drink. So, what do you want to do?
Can Stefan go to one of the waiters and ask for a brandy? I believe it was. Was it brandy she was drinking?
Yes, she was.
He'll ask for a brandy and he'll take a drink over to her.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
One of the guests takes off a robe that they're wearing and gently drapes it over the body of the governor, which seems to make Sava relax a little bit. Now, she's not literally looking at a corpse. She's still kind of looking at the lower half of a corpse, but the upper half of a corpse is now covered, which does make a difference, I think. So 3 of you are in the room. One of you, Kara, is not. She's actually outside, and one of the guards was outside with her, and he has heard the same instruction to keep everyone there. So he just says to Kara, stay put.
Cool. Kara nods, and then she will turn her body slightly aside and sort of send a little message back to Pramus saying it's done, I guess.
Okay.
There.
All right. Pramus responds immediately. En route.
Cool. I take other. How busy is it outside? Like, are we talking like thick with people? Or are we talking sort of decent number, but there's
the
still
concourse outside has a significant number of bars and restaurants, and they were filled for the evening for the speech, and there was a certain amount of chatter, there was a certain amount of liveliness. People were, whether or not they were particularly enthusiastic about the governor, it's an opportunity to get together and have a bit of a, knees up kind of thing, have a drink, have a chat. The mood has changed quite dramatically. People are looking worried, they're very quiet, and they've all crowded back into those bars so they can see whatever's on the feed. They have not taken it well. I don't think they've processed it yet, to be honest.
Cara will drop a message to Sammy saying, could the two of you come outside and just sort of lurk a bit, drinking outside by one of the bars?
Okay. Because Sammy is in fact Sammy and Johnny are both in the bars. Yes. Moments later, you see both of them sort of slouch outside, dragging their rather bulky holdalls with them, and take up positions on each side of the concourse, glancing at each other a bit, trying to look nonchalant.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Cool, that's all Cara will do. Otherwise, she'll be a very good girl, and she'll not go anywhere.
She'll stay put, yeah.
And just keep an eye on the guard, see if he's sort of what he's up to, really. Any movement.
Okay. Inside, Sava has turned to the two hollow crews and basically told them to cut their broadcast. So the feed now to those cafes and bars has gone off, and whatever they're watching can only be reaction or comment. They've lost live footage, if you see what I mean.
Yes. Can Agnar, he'll just I assume he's still kneeling over the body, and just proclaim we need to call the authorities. There needs to be an ambulance, there needs to be a medic, something on world, that somebody with some authority on world. I assume there's some kind of system for reporting dead bodies.
Yes, there is.
But he will go for the medical side rather than the police.
Yeah. And you are standing right next to Sava, the assistant to the late governor, the former governor, the remains of the governor.
He's an ex-governor.
The ex-governor. Yes, bereft of life. Yes. So she immediately nods and starts talking into a communicator. And she pauses after a moment, and she looks straight back at Agnar and says, "I'm not getting any response."
Technology communicator-wise, would Agnar be able to use his version to do the same thing?
Yes. What's his? You'd have to roll a skill check, so it'll be the communication skill, won't it? Is that computer communications? I think it is. Yeah. Communications.
Yeah, that's fine, because actually he's not too fast whether he passes or not, and he has.
So it'll be education plus electronics comms.
He has. Hold on, sorry. Helps if I look at the right character sheet. He has reasonably decent education, but he has no comms, so it's a -1.
-3, yeah. For that.
Yeah. He rolled a 9, +2 education, -3.
Okay. Now, if my maths hasn't deserted me, that makes an 8.
It does indeed.
Strong
Okay.
maths.
His attempt to use emergency channels and things that he's heard of, but he's not that familiar with using, also receives no kind of response whatsoever.
He'll relay that. He'll turn to her and just say, "I can't raise anybody either." Had you shut down communications in the building for any reason?
She looks at him absolutely wide-eyed. It's like, I don't even know how we would do that. It's, the Imperial Comms network. It just works.
Well, that certainly seems unusual. And he'll act confused and just start asking, I suppose, the security if they will check and see if they can get me.
Okay.
Expecting full well that they won't be able to, but he's looking like he's doing something proactive to help.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, he's hamming it up.
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah. Can you roll a deception check for me with intellect as well?
I certainly can. Why can't that one be education? Oh no, that is that's a 4 + 1 is 5.
Okay. All right. So one of the guards immediately makes an attempt to follow the instruction and make contact, and seems to have the same reaction, the same response. There's nothing out there, no one answering, no one listening. And the other one doesn't, and just starts. You get the impression he's not completely convinced by your enthusiastic jumping in to help, shall we say.
Okay.
So, Stefan and Soraya?
Soraya will look around at the other guests. Are any looking like they're going to do something silly? Do you know what I mean? Like, shock can make people do all sorts of things. Does anyone look like they're looking slightly more strung out than you'd hope?
There's one who was literally talking to Krebs when he was suddenly taken ill, shall we say, taken unwell.
I prefer that to the murder that you used in the intro, as accurate as that is.
Yeah, poisoned, cyanided. I don't know. I'm not an expert in these things. That woman is looking very shaken. She doesn't look like she's going to bolt yet, but she's taken a couple of paces back and she's sort of holding herself in her arms wrapped around her, and she's looking really shaken.
Cool. Soraya will approach her, visibly looking as kindly as she can, and go to sort of half put her arm around her. Sort of when you lead someone to sort of rest somewhere or sit down somewhere, sort of take her and. How is the woman taking to it? Is she allowing her to do this, or?
Let's see. It's not a very. Yeah. Can you roll a social check for me? Just pure social.
Oh no, on Soraya. Oh no. Hang on, what's my mind?
Yeah, I know. It would be better on Kara, wouldn't it?
Yes. -1. Let's see what we got. Are they warm? Oh, it's not. It's a 3. Oh no.
Is that net?
That's after I've taken off. Yeah.
Okay.
It was 4. Now it's 3.
The woman seems a little bit startled by the arm and then just shrugs it off, like she hasn't any interest. She's just staring at the body on the ground and looking really, really upset.
So instead, Sarai will pull the arm back and say, "Can I get you a chair or something?"
No response. She's just like laser focused on the body.
Okay. Any changes out with Kara at the minute?
No, the only thing you can tell is that when the feed went down, people started trying to call friends and family who weren't there. And there seems to be a sense, though people aren't leaving the bars or restaurants yet, but you can get a bit of sense of the noise from inside, that people in general are having problems with their communication device.
In which case, Kara will message back through to the inside and say the cleanup is beginning. It looks like all the comms have been cut.
That message is not received by any other member of the party.
Beautiful.
Kara will turn to the guard and say, "As I was in there anyway, can I go back in?"
Roll a persuade for me.
Oh, see, that's a bit more like it.
With social.
Oh, it's social as well. That's going to be a 9 in total.
Okay. He thinks about it for a second, and then he says, "Better not. Stay where you are."
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
He doesn't seem aggressive about it or anything. It's just he hasn't received any instructions since his last instruction, and that was everybody stays where they are kind of thing.
He's just following orders.
He is. Yeah.
Can Stefan, if he hasn't already taken the drink over, he will take the drink over.
Yes.
Hand it to Sil, and he'll just look at the closest guard to the body, I suppose, and say, can you move the body through to one of these other rooms before other people start going into shock? And he'll gesture towards the woman who looks like she's having a bit of a hard time about it.
Okay. There is a guard not actually very far away by the entrance to the bar at this point. So roll a persuade for me with social.
Oh. Okay, it's not too bad. For 1. +1.
+1.
He rolled a 5 though, so that's a 6 total.
Okay.
Oh, we've started cold tonight.
So I'm making up for my good rolls last week.
Yeah, too right, yeah.
The guy immediately nods and says, "Good idea." He glances across to Silsava to make sure she's okay with what he's doing. And then he walks over to join Stefan and Agnar. You're all basically very close to the body now. And he says to Agnar, "You got the feet?"
Agnar will nod and he'll, yeah.
Okay.
On 3.
2, 6. Right. Can Agnar roll a strength check for me, please?
Oh no. Better him than Stefan, I suppose. That's a 9 + 0 is 9.
Yeah, that's plenty. Yeah, it's you're carrying half of a person. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a comedy moment here.
I'm kind of wishing there was now.
So the guard and Agnar take the body of the governor through to the other side of the room and through the doors into the anteroom that you saw outside his office, and you rest the body on one of the tables in there, and the guard then holds the door open for Agnar to get back into the main room. He's not willing to leave Agnar with the body.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. He'll gladly go back through.
Okay.
What room was that taken into? Remembering back to the map.
The anteroom. I can actually show you, believe it or not. I mean,
yeah.
I can. It will take me a few seconds.
That's okay.
And we do have to apologise once again to our viewers, obviously, because there's going to be a brief moment as I do this, where people are going to be confronted with the horrific sight of, us.
Oh yeah, you're big again. Oh my goodness, I'm used to you being smaller. Oh no.
Believe me, I feel nothing but your pain. Really, nothing but your pain. Right, let me try this.
Oh, this could, instead of leaving the planet, Luke, this could turn into one big murder mystery weekend.
Exactly. No one can go anywhere. No one can share the information they know.
A detective calls at the door.
The one person that knows why things are down can't tell anyone, can't get in.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's important.
Bear in mind, I must apologise for this. I haven't been updating the map as we've been talking about people moving around, so not all the people will necessarily be in the right place.
Yeah.
I can, of course, put them in the right place, but I don't think we need it for this.
No, not
moment.
at all.
Sure.
So, for the purposes of what you were talking about, if you look at the top of the map, that's where Kara is with the guard outside the doors.
Yeah.
Where the green circle with PK, and that's where Papa Krebs actually fell. That's not where he is anymore. And the woman who was looking shaken is the purple circle next to that. Yeah. I'll actually move Papa Krebs to where the body is now, because that might turn out to be relevant. And the anteroom is to the left of the screen, and then beyond it is the main desk for Krebs' office.
Okay, to the left. Got you. Okay, that's interesting.
Okay.
Whereabouts are the security guards?
Yes, that's my next question.
Right, the security guards are essentially A, B, C, and D in sort of gold colour.
Wonderful, and they're all where they are.
Pretty much. One's outside keeping an eye on the corridor and arguably Kara, though he doesn't seem particularly on edge or anything. And the other three are mingling with the group.
Okay.
I've relocated Krebs's body to where he is on the table.
Make a good bar. I need to laminate him somehow.
With just one exposed toe. That's the way to go, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, go on.
No, go for it. I'm interested in what Stefan's going to do.
Stefan, how did you know it's going to be Stefan? Stefan.
You said St.
Yeah.
Stagnant.
Can he turn to Sil and just say, Sil, what about the waiting staff? Is there a back door out of here? Sort of question as to where they are.
Okay.
Yes, assuming he can't see them in the room, obviously.
They have both kind of retreated to the office where you can see them on the map. The office to the east, the two little black circles, because they don't want to be out in public right now. But people are calling for them periodically and getting refreshed. Their glasses refreshed, so they haven't gone anywhere in particular. Sil, in response to your question, says the only way out is through those doors, and points to the ones at the top of the lobby, the ones you can actually see on the map at the moment.
Okay, cool. Stefan will look relieved and say that's good, as long as there's nobody in the building that could be leaving through another exit.
No, there are plenty of other spaces in the building, but there's nothing people could be leaving through. No windows, no doors.
No service entrance, yeah. Cool.
No, and she cheerfully begins explaining, almost as if it's by like something she's done 1,000 times before about the fact that this is in fact the front of the spinal bay from the old days when it was a dreadnought. And she's almost, with a very robotic tone, she's going through the sort of 10-cent tour, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. Stefan here, politely nods along.
Yeah. On your left. Yes, exactly that. So everyone at the moment is basically clustered at the north end of this room, fundamentally, except obviously for the people who aren't people anymore because they're now remains.
Right, here's a question. So, Kara, first of all, is there, from where she is outside the door, is there a sort of gap under a door that you could slide a bit of paper? Or is it touching the ground?
It's essentially a swinging door. It's not designed as a bulkhead door, these double doors. So theoretically, it's possible.
Right, a few bits that need to come together here. Theoretically, Kara with comms would know basic, something like Morse code. If she's got comm skill. If my plan would be for Kara to jot, not knowing who's behind the door, I guess, wanting to tap out in Morse code Soraya, in hope that Soraya, through her jack of all trades skills, might understand, if that makes sense. On the off chance, you know.
Okay.
It might get the wrong person, people might hear, but who knows? Do you know what I mean? It's
all right. This is effectively, therefore, going to be a task chain.
Oh, no.
So the first thing...
They always go wrong somewhere in the middle.
Well, this is something you might call a stretch goal. So Kara is going to have a go. I need her to, first of all, do a stealth check with dexterity.
Okay. Stealth with I think you're right. Watch the warm ones. They're quite sweaty. Okay. That is 8.
Okay. Yeah. The guard doesn't seem to notice what you're doing at all. Now we begin the actual task chain. So.
Oh, that was just the precursor, the preamble.
Well, that was just to make sure she didn't get caught doing it. Now we need to do the actual tapping. So yes, because you're going to try something like Morse code, we're going to have to go for electronics comms.
Yeah. And
she can use education for this.
Cool. Nice. But I won't use my computer advantage because everything is down in that regards. I get +1 through the computer.
Tap the computer on the floor.
Definitely get a +1 for that. Okay. But,
yeah, I've just got this image in my head of her actually pushing the door slightly open and lobbing the computer at Soraya's head. It's like, wake up!
Rolling. That is another 5 and 3, but with a +4, so that's a 12.
Ooh. Okay, good. So that is a +4 total. Now Soraya is going to have to do a streetwise check.
Yeah.
With education.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah.
And she's going to have to do it with Bane.
Oh no! Okay.
She's not expecting it. She's not listening to the door.
Yeah. Right, so it's a +1, but with a Bane.
Yeah.
This. I feel cheaty. You know, like you said during the other week, when you roll well, you feel cheaty. You know what I mean? Especially on a Bane. So I rolled a 6, a 5, and a 4.
Okay.
So +1 is 10.
Yep.
So those 3 dice are staying.
Yep. And with the roll before, yes, Soraya does detect that she is being summoned.
Cool. So Soraya looks around and sort of wanders over to the door very casually. Has anyone else sort of clocked at all?
No, and though the guards are watching, they also know somebody's outside the doors, so they're not they're not panicked if Soraya's taking a little bit of a stretch of her leg, so to speak.
Yeah.
Especially if what she wants to do is find a bit of space to herself.
Yeah, we all need a bit of space to ourselves, especially after that disgusting reaction from that woman. It sort of that shook Soraya a little bit, being shunned in such a way. She felt like the lowest of the low at that point.
Victim blaming.
Exactly. So Soraya will give a tiny little tap back on the door.
Okay.
Kara, this is very strange working with myself. Kara will slump down onto the ground, not like dramatically, but you know, like when you sit there leaning against something with your arms around your knees, kind of thing. You know, she's there for a long time, so she's getting comfy. And then sort of between her legs, with the little bits of the scraps that she'll carry around as her sort of artist sketchy bits, she'll write in. I'm trying to think of the best way of doing. She'll write comms down. No one will know this name, I don't think. Comms down Pramus.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll try to the other side of the guard. She'll just sort of slide it under the door, whilst just still sort of leaning against the door.
Okay. All right. Okay. I need you to roll a stealth check with Dex.
Yes.
For Kara.
Yes. Oh.
But Soraya isn't really that close to people and isn't really being observed all that much. So yeah, stealth check with Dex for Kara.
Okay. I should have just opened the door and shouted, "She's on her way. That's why everything's off." Just let everything fall the way it came. Stealth with Dex, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's all zeros. Don't know how hard it's going to be. It's an 8.
Okay.
Depends on the complexity, that one.
Yeah. Because of the way she's sitting, I did have in mind this would be an 8.
Okay.
Because she's sitting down by the door. She's not going to try and shove it under with her toes or anything. Yeah. It makes perfect sense that she'd be able to do that, hiding it behind her body. It's not particularly difficult. So, yes, she gets away with it, and the note is passed. So, effectively, you now have Soraya on the same page.
Yeah.
And it is pretty much as she's reading that note that all 4 of you get another chat through your comms. It's like 3 minutes out.
We all get that.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, everybody. And this is from Pramus again directly.
Perfect. I mean, it's not surprising to me, but I just thought I'd double check.
Yeah.
Just to make sure. Okay.
Oh no, who is this?
Get off the line. I'm expecting a call.
Stefan will sort of casually glance at his comms and just be like, "No, mine's not working either." To Sil, what happens now? What do we do? What do we do now?
Sava sort of looks at him a bit baffled, and she says, "I have no idea. I know every procedure for running this city, and we don't have any process for governor dies and communications are out, and I just need a few minutes. Let me get my feet back under me, you know?"
Yeah, of course. And he'll gesture to her brandy and just say, if there's anything we can do to help or to ease the situation, just let us know. And sort of just make sure she's okay and wander off. You know, casually as you break conversation, just give her a nod and give her some space.
Okay. Just, take half a pace back and make sure she doesn't feel too pressured, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So as this is happening, everyone's milling about in there. Stanley Strife, who's sort of in the room, minding his own business and staying quite a long way away from other people. He's more curious about when the feed will start up again, I imagine. That he meanders over, not particularly rapidly or anything, just meanders over to where Soraya is, and says, "So, what do you think happened here?"
Soraya says, "I was a long way away, but from what I saw, what's his name? Papa Krebs was looking quite more and more stressed as evening went on. It looked like it was a big night for him, and it looked like he sort of started shaking a bit more and went down with a heart attack or something, like clutching and sort of, I don't know if he was so excited about this evening for some reason, but yeah."
It's tragic, isn't it?
Very, very sad. I'd imagine people will really need to cling on to what is said over the next couple of days. You know what people are like. They look for reassurance in these times. And what you said at the time, I think, from what we could hear, the applause coming through the door, it seemed to strike a chord with people.
Well, hopefully it made people less worried. That's all I can hope for.
And that's the most, I think for the next couple of days, that is the most, I think, that can be hoped for.
Okay, so Kara, you suddenly see things change a little bit. In the concourse outside, the far end entryways and doorways and portals onto the rest of the ship are suddenly filled with the bulky figures of Imperial Marines in full battle dress, carrying big weapons, massive armor. This is powered, heavyweight kind of kit, and they are moving with reasonable speed. And as they come in, they sort of separate on the way down the concourse, so that there's one outside each door into a bar, into a restaurant. They're not pointing guns at anyone. They're not acting overtly aggressively, but the nature of the speed and the way they move together makes it look like a profoundly military operation. And just as you're catching this, you see Pramus appear and stalk along the length of this spinal bay, accompanied by 2 Imperial Navy medics and 2 more Marines, also in full battle dress and with all of their armor. She strides up towards the doors, and perhaps unsurprisingly, the party guard outside makes absolutely no attempt whatsoever to discourage them from just marching straight inside. You do get the very strong impression that even though he's been told no one in, no one out, he's not going to argue with this particular group of people.
This one's above his pay grade, I feel.
Yeah. So they push the doors open, they stride inside, and Pramus yells out, "Where's the governor?"
Agnar will say he's through here, and gesture towards the door and start making his way over towards the door.
Okay. As soon as they get a nod from Pramus, the 2 medics sprint down the side and through the door towards the body. Do you want to follow them in, or are you staying in the main room?
Agnar will follow them in, and he'll just generally start making conversation. Medical conversation. I was first on the scene.
Okay, all right.
I ran this scan, this scan, this scan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've got a scene from Firefly going through my head right now. Jane trying to remember the medical speak. But okay, all right. So Agnar follows them through. The two Marines are literally standing flanking Pramus, and she strides over to Silsava, and they come with her. As soon as she's facing Sava, she sort of looks her up and down, completely blanks her, and turns to the two Hollow crew people, and she says, "Start the feed." And they immediately start, leaping about, adjusting things and what have you. And she says, "The Imperial Navy is here in significant numbers, and we will ensure that there is no looting, there is no violence. We will maintain the peace and the order that this planet deserves. Thank you for your attention." And then she tells them to cut the feed again. She stands there waiting and not saying anything to anyone.
Soraya, I guess, who's still near Stanley Strife, sort of glances up at his expression, I guess.
He doesn't look wildly pleased, I think it's fair to say. It's not like he's looking horrified or tears are rolling down his face or anything, but it's not as if he's smiling, put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Can Stefan approach Pramus?
Yes,
And
I don't see why not.
The reactions. I'm assuming he's allowed to walk up to her, and he'll just say to her, "What do we do now? What are we waiting for? Are we here until the medics have found something?"
That's right, sir.
Okay. And he'll wander back and try and find a waitress and grab another drink.
Okay, fair enough.
Just play it, he'll
Good
play
plan.
it. He'll play it cool and
Okay.
just walk away.
There is a moment of tension in the room while things go on, and everyone just freezes and stares at Pramus, who obviously is rather commanding attention at the moment. Silsava sort of steps forward a little bit and opens her mouth as if she's going to say something, and the giant hand of one of the Marines quite gently rests on her shoulder and sort of just moves her back a quarter pace again, and then lets go. And Sava sort of looks at the floor and stays silent. There is no sense that anyone wants to challenge the Imperial Navy's hegemony, for the moment at least. And it is a few moments later when the medics, with Agnar presumably still in tow, is he going to follow them out again?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, that took longer to decide than it should have done. I don't see why he would still be in there. Yes, he will. He'll follow them back out.
They go over, and as they approach, they're already talking into their communicators to report to Pramus. They are talking on a private channel, and so they are standing a little way apart, but talking in very muffled tones, so they can't be overheard by normal means, or unless someone is deliberately trying to get really, really close to them. The medics are deliberately not standing too close to anybody, and the only people standing close to Pramus are her two enormous Marines, close enough to be able to hear. So eventually, she sort of nods, thinks for a second, and then turns back to the Hollow Crews. And she says to them, okay, start broadcasting again. Once she's got the okay from the Hollow Crews, she looks at them and she says, I have to announce that Governor Krebs was poisoned. This is clearly murder, and because of his status here, political assassination. It is no joy to me to be the bearer of such terrible tidings. But I do have some good news. We have identified the perpetrator. She has been placed into custody. And the evidence is irrefutable. We don't yet know how this unspeakable crime was carried out, but we know who did it, and we know why. More details will emerge over time, but of course, you must understand certain pieces of information will have to be held back so as not to prejudice any trial. I'm sure your governor was much beloved on this world, so I hope you will understand that though the perpetrator will no doubt return here for trial, for the time being, I've ordered her lifted off world and placed into custody aboard the Italia, my ship. I want to thank you for your attention.
Sorry, as that's going on, can Stefan make his way back over to Sil in sort of a moral support kind of parameter, and just keep an eye on her guards and see what the Imperial Navy guards are doing, if they move, if they look at anyone in particular in the room.
They are only really paying attention to anyone coming close to Pramus. They're not paying that much attention to anyone else. And after a few seconds, when the broadcaster's cut again, Pramus, ignoring pretty much everyone in the room, turns to Sava and says, for the time being, Ossin is under military jurisdiction. She then points to one of her Marines and says, get the body. And she strides out with the other one. And a few moments later, the medics follow out, and then the other Marine with his enormous powered armor carrying the body of the governor like it's a toy, you know. They leave, the doors swing shut behind them, and everybody in the room kind of lets out a collective breath of, we're not going to die right now. Okay, that's a positive. And Sava is looking absolutely shocked. She sort of looks across to the nearest person to her, who turns out to be, as it turns out, Stefan. And she says, they've already caught the person who did it. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. It happened like 15 minutes ago.
Stefan will reply, it certainly is unusual, and raise an eyebrow, much like the Stefan figure token.
Oh, I need to put that on the side. Hang on.
I can't do it, but Stefan will.
Very Roger Moore.
Yes. Yeah. It is a very, very Roger Moore kind of thing.
But yeah, he will shoot her a telling look of sorts.
Okay. Moments later, there's a broadcast that comes over all of your communicators all at once, from a male voice who says, "My name is Eric Lanson. I am on my way to take up duties as governor of Ossin." That is all. And it cuts. He may not be a people person.
Soraya heads towards the exit.
Okay.
Are our comms back up?
Yes.
Okay, no, sorry, don't worry. I had a thought, but not a very good one, as it turns out.
They can't all be winners.
No.
Okay. So one thing that's worth mentioning, because Kara can see this, the Marines who were standing guard in the concourse, they haven't moved an inch. Though the governor walked out and the Marines she brought with her own two, and the medics and the governor's body, they've all gone. The Marines on the concourse are just standing there as if they're going to stand there all day.
Kara is going to slowly and casually sort of wander away from the room. Is she could be allowed to do that by the guard? I guess they got. Who knows what's going on with all the guards and that now? Does he sort of let her wander off?
Yes, he sort of glances at her, seems to give it like a second's thought, and then it's like, I guess I'm not in charge, kind of thing.
Kara's going to reach Sammy and Johnny and say to them, I don't think Ossin's got much for us right now. And she'll ping back to the others and say, look, I think we just need to get off this planet.
Okay.
Agnar will head towards the door. Stefan will, assuming there's nobody else immediately around, turn to Syl and say, we're getting off planet rather quickly. If you feel as though you want to do the same, we've plenty of room on the ship. He'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. She sort of nods and looks. She's almost checked out at this point. Things have happened too quickly. She's completely lost thread of what the hell's going on or anything like that.
Well, perfect. And he will walk towards the door, I assume, with her.
Yeah, well, if you walk towards the door, you can walk straight through it and keep going. There, no one is raising an eyebrow. It's. I guess it's all over then.
as if they've taken the body and there's nothing else to.
Yeah, there's nothing else
There's
to do.
nothing else to do. They've found the culprit. They've taken the body, and
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
You know, I mean, the Imperium doesn't actually have a reputation for being all that spectacularly efficient, but it turns out their detective capabilities are off the charts.
Soraya will sling one of the holdalls that the one that Sammy was carrying, over her shoulder, and I guess as everyone gathers out, she'll say, "Look, let's keep our heads down. Who knows how the dust is going to settle with Imperium and Riftsman's at the minute? Let's just make our way to the ship. Just
Okay.
Just keep your eye out, head down, and let's move."
All right. Can everybody in the party roll for me a streetwise with intellect or a recon with intellect, please? Whichever is your better.
Yeah.
But it's more the intellect than anything else. It's the.
Okay, that's an 8 for that.
Let's do Stefan first.
Okay.
Who got a 9 total, and then Agnar. Ooh, blimey! Rolled an 11 with a +1 recon.
Okay.
And a 0 intellect, so it gets a 12.
Okay. Do you remember there was a time when you were leaving this same suite a little while ago and it appeared that one of the automatic cameras was tracking you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That appears to be happening again. And it seems unlikely that it's Silsava doing it.
Agnar will think about highlighting it to the rest of the group and Sil, and then probably think twice about us all looking up at the camera at the same time and
Yes.
carry on walking. He gets an idea of generally what's going on, and that if they wanted us dead, we'd be dead already. Judging on all the naval military personnel in heavily armoured suits.
Yes, quite right.
And decides
exactly.
to pay it no mind.
It seems like a thing that that might not be worth drawing too much attention to. But yes, that is, however, what you do notice. Okay, you as a group make it. The 6 of you make it all the way to your launch, and as you go through the downport, and you can actually see your launch through the viewing windows. By the airlock, there are 2 figures waiting for you. Sever and his friend, Reggie Schmidt.
Ah, Reggie Schmidt.
Good old Reg.
And Sever says, "I figured you were about to leave."
You always were one step ahead of us, Sever.
Not always, it turns out. Yeah, so he's just waiting for your nod for the 2 of them to get on your launch.
Soraya will definitely go on first and start, stow the stuff and start twiddling knobs and pressing things and sort of making sure everything's okay.
Right.
Cara will have a quick look before she goes through the door, a bit movie style, to see if she can spot anyone or anything just before she enters. Okay,
so is she effectively going to bring up the rear then?
I don't necessarily she needs to. I'd imagine she's not waiting for anyone particular. I guess she was just going to glance before she went in. But if we want to leave it to the person bringing up the rear, there's other people with better observation views than her, so she's happy to bounce in and leave it to the others.
Then just roll a streetwise check or recon.
Oh, the very casual thing. There's a 12.
Ooh. Wow. And she can add intellect to that, and as well.
14 then.
14.
Yeah. She got a good look in that millisecond that she just sort of looks over her shoulder.
Significant.
Okay. Yes, at the other end of the sort of lounge area leading out through the airlock, there are two people who are trying very hard not to be observed watching the party go.
Okay.
Can once we're in the airlock, I'm assuming there's no cameras in there. Agnar will just let everybody know about the other camera, the one that we saw before that was watching us again.
Yep, fair enough. Yes, that's no problem at all. And yes, the airlock cycle seems to happen completely normally. Anyway, you're all wearing vac suits, even if something went wrong. Well, bear in mind, on the other side of the airlock is hard vacuum.
Yes.
So if you weren't wearing vac suits, there would be something badly wrong with your plan.
Although actually, I think Stefan isn't.
Isn't he?
I don't think isn't that the reason that Stefan and
of course, because Kara has a vac suit. Kara has a vac suit, but not a hostile one.
Soraya stayed
But
behind.
Stefan.
No, even Stefan has access to a vac suit for literally from the shuttle to the to the
like a casual wear.
Yeah,
rather than armored.
It won't be a particularly customized one or anything like that, and he doesn't probably have much skill in it, but it's enough to make your way from a shuttle to.
Well, then ignore my previous statement.
Okay. Okay. So the whole gang, including Seva and Reggie, make their way aboard the launch. And if you want to take off, then Soraya, I need you to make your pilot check, please.
Okay.
Pilot plus education.
Okie dokie. That is my small craft one. Okay, come on. That is a 6 + 1 is 7.
7. Okay.
Yeah, don't say 7 like that. Oh, 7.
7?
7.
7.
Sound of DM rolling dice.
Yeah. Oh no, you are all wearing vac suits.
But
Yes. Yes. The takeoff is what you might call a little bit nervous. It's possible that recent events have just got to Soraya a little bit. She's a bit jittery as she lifts the thing off, but there's a bit of a lurch, and people think, "Whoa, that's a bit bouncy," given that we're taking off from a smooth gravity well in a vacuum. She managed to find some turbulence. However, she does indeed get the launch moving up and smoothly climbing off the planet to meet the oncoming Baltic star, which is just about settling into its return path into orbit.
perfectly timed.
And that's about where we can take our break.
Also perfectly timed.
Never have I wanted to see the most beautiful Baltic star so much in my life.
Okay.
On that bombshell, let's take a 5-minute comfort break and then back after that.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Uh, Welcome back to part 2 of tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. As you can see on the right-hand side, the Baltic Star is now in orbit. Some top quality Photoshop work there. As is a time-honoured tradition as we come back from break. It's my job, as I lost a shooting competition in-game, not real life, to toast an NPC who engraved himself in our hearts. He was only around for a short while, but he served drinks well, he fired guns badly, and he had terrible armour. So we have to remember him with him not here anymore. So please raise your glasses to the late, great Greyhill Bast.
Greyhill Bast.
It's a great hill best.
To be fair, he may not have sent bullets very well, but he stopped them quite well.
Almost too well.
Almost too well, yes. Yeah, and he did make you a fairly substantial business trade as well at the same time.
I believe so. And he served us good vodka.
And
Well, he did that as well.
That picture.
We got
that is vodka, isn't it? Yeah.
That is, yes.
And we have got the Bast test, which we then sold on.
Oh yes, he was the first person to ever undertake a Bast test.
Patient 0.
Hence the name.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, and he passed it.
With flying colours.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, your characters are back in orbit, and enthusiastically waiting for direction. You have obviously your regular crew, plus you've taken on a couple of strays. 3, in fact. And people are awaiting instructions on where they're going next and what to do.
Can I wind it back ever so actually it doesn't matter. On the ship, whilst we were on the ship, can Stefan just send a quick message to Strife and just say I think all the pieces we put on the table worked out rather well, question mark, question mark, question mark. And then he'll drop in the universal symbol for credits. After the question marks, like a typo.
Credit emoji.
Okay, yeah. Yes. Okay. You get a response that says, it was nice to meet you. I'm sorry it was under such bleak circumstances. When you're next in town, let's talk some real business.
Stefan sends him a message back, just briefly saying, that sounds very agreeable.
Okay.
It was nice to meet you too. And then he'll, I suppose everybody's busy doing stuff, so he'll wait till, there's an opportune moment to relay that on to the rest of the team.
Sure. Okay. Now you did make some decisions about how Seva would be accommodated.
Yes.
That he would basically spend the trip in his stateroom.
He's allowed out for is it a few hours in the evening if he wants to come and drink at the front, but otherwise he has to be in his stateroom.
Sure. Well, bear in mind he's brought a buddy with him, so he's got someone to keep him company when he's not out. And
I think he might be out.
Yes, he might be out. And obviously Sammy is busy showing Johnny around the ship and introducing him to the crew and making sure he's squared away. Your ship is refueled and ready to go whenever you want to make a jump to wherever you want to go.
Now, the obvious route is to Giikur,
It is indeed.
The let's cause Ben a heart attack route is to go to Omero.
I mean, I suppose the let's cause Ben a heart attack route is almost anywhere else. Seeing as we've been talking about Giikur for a long time. And I'm not saying I'm against anywhere else.
It's entirely up to you.
I think we've left Giikur wandering long enough, haven't we? We said we were heading there with a little jump, and they've got people actually waiting for us, and we've got Severance drop off as well now.
We certainly have. Yeah. That is where he wants to go. And I imagine that is probably the only place he wants to go. He's not interested in taking the scenic route.
Then let's jump to
So
Giikur.
is it Giikur? Okay.
Yep. I'm going to change it, so it should change now to jumping. Let's check. Oh, it did, look at that.
Very exciting.
That's the most exciting bit of the evening for me.
Let me check the roll. Okay. Your astrogator
is good.
Is pretty good. And that's pretty decent. Okay. The jump is without incident. Now, you guys are going to spend a week. So you've got to decide on your skills for that week.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Cara is on her second week of deception, and Sarai is on her second week of mechanic. So that's easy enough.
Okay.
Agnar is just about to complete his natural melee.
Oh, yes.
And Stefan is about to take the first week in deception. I've already got it written down, but I don't have any weeks out of 4. So I'm assuming he will now be 1 out of 4.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's the way I'm recording it.
Okay. That's absolutely fine. Yep.
Oh, which means his melee. What's Agnar's melee? I need to make a change to the sidebar now. +1.
Wow.
He's got natural melee 1, and I believe he gets something for being Varga towards that.
Automatically has natural weapons because he's Varga. He has a natural weapons bonus. Essentially, he can use his teeth and claws. Is what it comes down to.
Cool.
Fantastic.
But it now means he can do that without having a -3.
That would be good, yeah.
Which is always advantageous, I suppose.
Okay, all good. Okay,
Cool.
right. Now, is there anything you want to do on the journey other than study?
Yes.
Okay.
On what I assume is the very first night that we spend celebrating, having a few drinks, thanking whoever it is that we thank that we survived and got off the planet, and everything went actually quite well so far.
Yeah.
Agnar will wait until we're several drinks deep into the evening, and it's going to seem really weird for anybody watching because we didn't stream any of our bets whatsoever.
Of course.
But needless to say, he lost a bet. And as such, he will stand up at the bar, gather 2 bottles of whiskey, and quickly whisper in Stefan's ear, run out of the door, and then come back butt naked, bottle of whiskey in one hand, Stefan's flamethrower in the other hand, singing some kind of jaunty song about our late great friend Grey Hill Bast.
Okay, yep.
And he will circle around for a little bit and do a lap of the ship, I suppose, whilst swigging away. If any of the crew are asleep, he'll bang on their doors and make sure they wake up to see him jauntily going down the corridor, firing off a flamethrower, singing a song.
Yes. in as close to the buff as a Varga can be.
Yes, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
And the second bottle of whiskey, whenever he gets to Slarty's door, he will leave that on the doorstep, as I believe Grey Hill was his man, as you will.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
Just with a little note that says something along the lines of my condolences.
Cool. Okay, you're right. That will confuse people who weren't here for the Grey Hill Bass cycle.
Yes. Yes. Or indeed, was it the first session on Ossin where we
it
went
was
to
the
the
very
firing
first
range
visit with the firing range, and
yeah.
and a couple of people lost bets.
It is
quite
now the
heavily.
reason that Luke has to do the toast to Grey Hill Bass every.
It is the reason.
Friday
Yes,
night.
absolutely. Okay.
It's also the reason Agnar is running around naked
Yeah.
with a flamethrower.
I think I got the
I
best.
mean, it's not the only
best deal of the two.
Agnar
Well-
enjoys running around naked.
I mean, frankly, given the situation, who wouldn't? But
Yeah.
The Baltic Star is kept at a very nice temperature. It's very, especially if you're a bit fuzzy. It's quite nice, I'd imagine, to wander around naked.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure it probably is. Yeah. So okay, other than that,
That's the most important thing.
does anybody have any other plans they need to undertake while the ship's in transit?
I believe Kara has to install the what do we buy? The hologram ordering device.
Yes.
So if you sit at the bar, you can get your order done, and Bast pops up and makes an order. You give the order to him, then I guess Rose now brings the drinks over.
Okay.
there's a lot of pimping my bar. What I recall of what we bought on Ossin.
Yeah. Yes. Traveller cribs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Can you roll a basic electronics check for me, please?
Now we're back.
That'll be electronics computer, I think.
Yeah. Oh, the dice is a bit cold. That is an 8 all in, so it's a 7 plus 1, so it's computer.
Okay. And she can use her education as well on that.
Oh, well then, in which case we're looking at 10.
Okay. Right. She installs the new hollow system without any issue whatsoever.
Cool.
Okay. Now, worth remembering, of course, that all of the weapons and equipment you purchased, plus some kegs of beer and things like that, are also aboard the Baltic Star now.
Oh yes. Agnar will he'll let Sever know that the appropriate local brew that he was drinking is now available at the bar
Good.
via hollow order. A new hollow ordering system. This has recently been installed. We apologise for any mishaps that might happen in the first few days, but new systems and all that.
It's very similar to the old holler approach, the new hollow approach.
Yeah. My apologies. Clearly, it was too similar. We used to holler at Grey Hill Bast, and he would bring us alcohol.
Well, indeed. Yeah, that was his job when he wasn't acting as a human shield.
Yes.
So, okay. Anything else?
I guess, as is her wont, Kara will start on times when she's got free time, when she's not working on her deception skills. However you do that with an online course, I don't know. By just popping in on people doing their job and start lying to them randomly. Just seeing if she can get away with it, how much she can get away with. Did you know I'm actually Kara's twin sister? We left the real Kara on the planet. The bottom half of you's on fire. I know you can't feel it, but take my word for it.
Yes, absolutely.
While she's not doing that, she'd like to try and do another couple of bits of art. I like this idea of turning into some kind of roaring 20s, like passing ship through the night. So she'll try and doodle, like artistically complete a few pieces around just to add to
You're
that vibe.
going to turn the gin palace into an actual gin palace. Aren't
Yeah,
you?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
With that sort of poster style, you know, taking it back a bit from that poster style to sort of like the Earth 1920s, 30s style, sort of the sharp edges.
Okay.
Just creating that sort of vibe on the bulkhead, internal walls,
Yeah.
and things like that. So.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Nice.
I'm following the logic.
Excellent.
So on that basis, can you roll for me an art check, please?
Oh, these are the sort of roles
This
I like
is
to make.
visual media plus education.
Couldn't be any better. That's another 7 plus 4 is 11.
Okay. Excellent. You have no troubles at all producing work that, even if you do say so yourself, you're pretty proud of.
Cool.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. Wonderful.
Yeah, those warm dice, I tell you.
I know. I've had them in my knee pit since coming back from the toilet.
I was implying it was the +4 that helped somewhat.
The plus
Well,
4.
I think it does help a bit. Yes.
Yeah.
Cara doing art is like Agnar shooting a shotgun. Equally is chancely to succeed.
Yeah. Funnily enough.
Okay. So, anything else? Are there conversations you want to have en route, or are you happy to just go ahead and arrive at Giikur?
Can Stefan would early on at some point like to approach Cara and just say to her, I know we've taken on a couple of passengers who we're giving a lift to that weren't exactly up front with us when we first encountered them, when we second encountered them. Is there any way you can track their personal communicators and see where they've been on the ship during this week of travel with them?
Okay.
Just, like a heat map. You watch a sports game and you get a heat map, or
Yes.
something similar.
Cara, yes. If you want to do that, then roll an electronics computers check for me.
Okay.
With edu.
See, we're in my ballpark here. Edge.
Education.
Education. Has she actually got? Can she actually use her good computer now to get? No, that's comms, and we're looking computers. Okay.
That's comms.
Only +3. This is poor form.
Only +3.
The answer is she probably can't because I just rolled a 3, so that's a 6.
Okay. You assemble something. It's not all that satisfying, and she's not convinced it's going to provide much information.
Okay. I'm right, and she assembles something janky. Okay.
Wonderful. Stefan probably doesn't have a clue what she's talking about though, so he thanks her profusely for her time.
Yes.
And
well done. It's green, I see. That's great.
Yeah.
It's because she's using her new deception skills. She pats. It's like, yeah, this is the best work I've ever done. It'll no problem.
Exactly. And he wanders off somewhat less paranoid than he would have been beforehand.
Yes. Okay.
I don't need to have the conversation because I know these conversations can run long at this point. I don't think we need it. But can Soraya try and have a few evenings where she does sort of a hang with Zoe and what's her name? The engineer.
You don't mean Rachel?
Yeah, Rachel. Yeah, Rachel Axis. Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel, she wants to hang with if Rachel and Zoe will hang for a bit of an evening. She just wants to build a rapport, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. That's what she'd like to do.
Yes. Rachel Axis is quite terse as a character. She's not very responsive. You get a bit more general conversation with Zoe. Okay. She's a bit more open and a bit more relaxed.
Yeah. We've been through a lot with Zoe, and as long as Cara's not holding up a picture of the carvings in front of her face, I think she's normally quite happy.
Yeah, she did have a bit of a reaction with the carvings, but honestly, she was actually there for that. It wasn't just a picture.
Exactly. Yeah, that is true.
Okay.
Oh, I should have painted the carvings. Every time Stefan goes into the bar.
Straight back out again.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that would go down brilliantly.
Should we warn them that we're en route, as it were? Do you think? Someone send a message, just let them know that we'll be there in a week.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
You understand that because you're going through jump, you'll get there before the message does.
That is true, because messages all...
They have to be relayed by ships. So essentially, the fastest one to get there is the one that's already on its way, which is the one you're on.
Okay, ignore that. Yes, I do recall that conversation.
Yes, you can send a message when you arrive, of course, and say, we're on our way, we'll arrive 3 minutes ago.
Now. Yeah.
We're now in orbit.
Okay. All right. So if there's nothing else you want to do en route, you arrive at Giikur, dropping out of jump. Giikur is it's a very different looking place, shall we say, than Ossin. It is also a fairly small world. It's not particularly massive in terms of its scale, but it's decent size. It is absolutely the bluest world you've ever seen. It is this deep, rich, impressive looking blue. It is genuinely very pretty from a distance. And as you begin to close in and can make out a bit more detail, you can see that the surface is 90% or so ocean. There is land, and it's a rich green color, and it is a series of islands scattered across the planet's surface. But it is extremely pretty. And as you approach, you become aware of the fact that there are also two space stations orbiting it. One is the standard commercial space station starport, and the other is a medium-sized orbiting Imperial Navy base. Which looks to be well frequented. There seem to be quite a lot of ships coming and going. There are fighters going in and out all the time, shuttles going in and out all the time. In fact, the planet is also seemingly quite commercially vibrant. There's a fair amount of trade coming and going, more so than you'd have seen at Ossin. And both the naval station and the commercial space station are busy with radio traffic. They have their landing lights and warning lights and things like that flashing. There is very much a sense that this is a busy place that people come quite a lot. So the approach you have would bring you within reach of docking at the orbital station, the civilian station, if you'd like to. Not that you have to, of course. Other options are available.
So what we know is that Sever, when we land on the planet, that's when we need to drop him off before we land. I'm just double checking on the thingy. Do you know off the top of your head, Ben, while I'm looking through just to cut time, we said that when we land on the planet, we need to drop Sever off before we land on the downport, right?
Somewhere off the record.
He
would want to be on any manifest.
He would like to be dropped off somewhere where he can, not go through customs and immigration, shall we say? Yes.
So possibly not the station. Would we know? Do they have records of people that come and go, even if they're not going to the planet?
Yes, if it would be fairly common knowledge to you that the arrival and departure of starships is pretty well logged. You'd be more likely to get him discreetly onto the world if you either docked in orbit and then took him down on the launch.
Yeah.
Or potentially took the ship into low orbit on its own, independently, and took the launch down to the surface. Either way, it's not that you wouldn't be noticed, it's just that nobody would really care, just one of many launches coming and going.
Sure. And we could I'm assuming we would have an idea of whether we could dock with the spaceport and just have him stay on ship and not have to declare that he was there. They don't want a list of who's on board when you dock, just who goes aboard.
This is a relatively low law level world. It's not particularly officious. Based on their sort of greeting message, they don't need to know who's on board a ship unless they have some reason to come and inspect it, which they reserve the right to do. But they would want people to show identification when they come aboard the space station itself.
Yeah, cool.
And start using the shuttle system or go through the downport on the planet's surface.
Okay, perfect.
So do we ping into low orbit before we do anything else? Just get rid of Sever so he's not anything to worry about.
Yeah, maybe dump him off whilst we possibly make contact with... Did we get the name of the lady?
Oh, it's in the old notes, but yeah. But yes, I can find it.
Whilst we make contact with them, just to let them know that we're here, if we want to. I suppose we don't have to.
I think that's a good use, because she'll let us know where we need to be and we can make decisions based on that, can't we?
Yeah.
I think that's a good call. Hang on a second.
Guess so.
It is... When did we do it? November? Oh, here we go, yeah. The corporate yacht. It was Sarah Lim. Sarah Lim was the lady.
That's right. That's who I was trying to look up. But you're right, you got there before me.
Oh, it was November.
There
we go.
This might be the moment for all our viewers, in case they hadn't realised, Luke is a brilliant note taker, and I rely heavily on his ability to take notes. In case they hadn't realised that already.
It's because I hate having things on the tip of my brain. You know, when you're like, oh, it's that. It drives me crazy. I'll go to bed and I'll wake up at 3 a.m. going, it's Zara Ham.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, definitely. And I would take notes, but there's no point because I could never live up to your standards.
Oh, don't. You've not seen
it's
them.
better just to have one perfect note taker, and anything I did would be muddying the water.
I'll do it anyway. You don't need to fluff my pillows, all right? I'm happy to do it.
Does that sound like a plan, though? Do you want to drop in, try and get rid of Sever and message them and just say...
Yeah, I like that.
We're about...
Yeah, I think that's a good call. So
we see what comes back.
So we'll drop into low orbit. If Soraya will take Sever down, see if his friend wants to come or not. And then while she's doing that, you can make contact with Sarah Lim.
Okay.
Sound like a deal?
Yeah, right. Can Stefan go with Soraya? Not that he doesn't trust Sever, but Stefan's pretty paranoid. He likes, he's got a bit of a relationship with Soraya.
That's true. They get on well.
Wants to look out for her a little bit. Doesn't want to leave her alone with somebody who's betrayed our trust.
Okay,
that is true.
All right. Okay, so let's do these with the trip down first, because I think that one will be a bit longer. So you go and say hi to Sever and say we're going to drop you off. He definitely doesn't want to take Reggie with him. He's perfectly happy for Reggie to stay on the Baltic Star. And he grabs his kit, which includes some weaponry, and follows you out to the launch.
Stefan, I'll just quickly say, Seba, well, when you say stay on the Baltic Star, do you mean like indefinitely?
Not forever, but I've got business, and Reggie doesn't have that.
I understand. I just would, want to make sure that we know what we're getting into when it comes to Reggie.
He can stay here while I conclude my business.
Wonderful. And then he's happy to go ahead with the plan.
Okay. All right. So the Stefan and Soraya are taking Sever down. Is that right?
Yeah.
We've ended up with an awful lot of S's on this launch.
Oh, it is. We've gone back to the old triple S again. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So can you roll a small boat check for me, please?
Oh, hopefully better than the last one. Come on. It is better than the last one. It should be okay. It's a 9.
Okay. All right. As far as you can tell, you slip down into the atmosphere. There's a bit more buffeting than you're used to. And it's fairly comfortable route down. As you come in and you start to see the details of the world you're coming down to, and you start receiving the sort of standard automated electronic communications about, this is where to go for the downport, this is how to land, this is the geography of the area, the altitude you've got to watch out for, mountains, valleys, that kind of stuff, which is all pretty automated. It comes into your system as you approach. You realize you are approaching the city of Selville, which is where the downport is. And let me try and explain to you.
How are we spelling Selville, by the way? Sorry.
Selville.
Oh, there it is. It's turned up. Just we've done it. Brilliant. Thank you. Far too keen.
So Selville is 3,000 meters above sea level. It's effectively built on 7 mountains.
Oh, like Sheffield. Like Sheffield.
What? Yeah, or Rome, or in fact Chatham. Chatham's on 7 hills as well, isn't it? Anyway.
Okay, so Selville's like Chatham. Okay, I've got you. Yeah.
Just like Chatham.
Just like Chatham, yeah. Okay,
so the reason you were getting a bit more buffeting from the atmosphere is that the atmosphere on the planet, though it's N2O2CO2 atmosphere, breathable, nice even for humans, it's extremely dense. It's dense to the point where high oxygen concentrations at sea level become rapidly quite toxic for humans to breathe. But at 3,000 meters, it's nice. So what they did was to find a mountain range on an island in the middle of the ocean, southern hemisphere, but still a long way from anywhere else, and literally lop the tops off 7 mountains that are close to each other. So the city of Selville is scattered over these 7 completely dead flat plateaus that they made by just chopping the tops off the mountains.
Nice.
There is at the time they did it, they left the sort of ridge line that connected them because they were part of a bend in a mountain range. So there is a bit of a ridge line connecting them, which is also at quite high altitude all the way. It's still there, and it's been fitted with handrails and things like that. So you could theoretically walk the typically kilometre or so from mountaintop to mountaintop, more than a kilometre in some cases. But that's not the actual route that, for the most part, people use, because Sellville has a mass transit system, and cut into the mountaintops is effectively what, on the mountaintop areas themselves, would be an underground railway. But then, of course, as soon as you leave one of the mountain tops and head to the next one, it becomes this suspended railway, which is on pylons mounted on the ridge line between the mountains. The downport is on the mountain of Elia to the southwest of the city, or it's the southwestmost mountaintop of the city. And the other thing that you notice quite quickly is that up at the northern end of the city, there is a fairly substantial lake, which has been created by building this vast gravity dam, which holds one side of the water and drops precipitously down over 1,000 meters before it finds actual hillside to be based on. And the other side of the lake is held in place by the ridgeline, effectively, between the peaks. And that's called Lake Simel on the maps. The center of the city seems to be on Pito to the northwest, and each of the mountains has kind of developed its own district, its own identity. And Elia not only has the main downport, but also cheerfully advertises that it is the center for the Earth Park terminal, which is actually served, and you are instructed as you come in to watch out for. They run a dirigible service, airships, to take passengers from Elia to the Earth Park site, which is some distance away. And the other thing that you get almost sort of blatted with as this information comes, because nobody misses the opportunity to advertise, you understand, is an actual poster advertising Earth Park and encouraging you to come and visit while you're in town. Okay, so that's the situation, and Seva cheerfully tells you he would very much like to avoid, if you don't mind, the actual landing zone on the downport for the time being. If you could find him somewhere else, that would be better.
Okay. Sorry, go on, Luke.
That's all right. Soraya, using her sensors, would like to check to see which area has the most of the 7 has like the most sort of remote area. Not so built up. If there's anywhere that's a bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. The nature of the city being built the way it is on limited land means that everywhere's relatively densely populated. But broadly speaking, Mina to the south of Pito is mostly estates for the fairly wealthy. Not huge estates, but private houses standing in their own grounds. Probably the most empty is Kuala, which is near Elia. It's the main transport route out of Elia. It has hotels and it has some accommodation, but there's a bit of open space there.
That's good. I think we should avoid the rich area because they're the most likely to put in a call to the.
Yeah, I mean, he's not
local
going to
police.
fit in, is he? in the hoity-toity end of town.
There's some ships just landed and dropped off some beefy guy in my garden.
Yeah. Stefan will turn to him and say, "Well, can you swim?"
Yeah.
I mean, we could always drop you off in the lake.
You're not wrong.
Seems like there's not going to be many people around. Soft landing. I mean, we could drop you off on a ridge, but that might hurt if you're jumping from the ship.
Depends. How close can you get me to a ridge?
What sort of scale are we talking here? The longest. I mean, I guess the longest is between
the
Elio and.
Yeah, but that's about the longest one, and I don't know if it's entirely clear from the map, but essentially the black line is the transit system.
Yeah.
The grey line is the ridge line, and that one, the transit system actually also goes through a tunnel in the ridge. So there's a point where the ridge line continues above the actual transit line, the sort of subway, if you like.
Okay, so we could drop at the top of that, and there wouldn't be any passing transits to notice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are places close to Elia and close to Kuala where it moves, where the two aren't that close together. You know, there's maybe 100 meters or so between them, that kind of distance.
Yeah. Or Stefan quite likes the idea of hovering above the lake and letting him jump out and swim to Pito, which is the city centre anyway. You know, is smack bang in the middle.
Well, you can certainly do that.
Do we want to give him the option, or
we can give him two? We can say, so Soraya sort of look over her shoulder. She's hovering, and that's been talking. She'll say, right, I can probably do one of two things for you then. From listening to what Stefan's saying, I could drop you on. I could try and drop you between Elia and Kuala on the bit where the transit goes through the tunnel, or I could head over to the lake and drop you close-ish to Pito. What do you prefer?
I think I'd rather try the ridge.
Sounds sensible, to be fair.
Okay. Then that's what we'll do. And then after that, Stefan, we can head to Mina and you can go hunting for gardeners. I'll drop him off there, you at Mina, and then I'll go up to the space station. I'll come back in a few days.
But, I mean, you're right. There may be gardeners that are unmurdered.
Exactly.
Chances are, if it's the better end of the neighbourhood,
exactly.
Well, yeah.
they'll all have gardeners.
You'll be like the Predator. You'll have the skulls dangling off you when I come and pick you up.
Yes, a necklace of ears. Excellent. So, all right. So, are you going to try for the ridgeline?
Let's try for the ridgeline first, yeah.
Okay. This is not an easy check, but we're going to see how it goes. So, this is education plus your small craft skill.
Ooh, okay, that's a +1 then. Come on. Oh, he's getting a bit cold.
This is when you need your armpit dice.
Oh no, and I didn't get my armpit dice. It's a it's a 6 + 1. It's a 7. I should have gone with the other
7.
two. The other two were sweatier, and they rolled an 11, but that's too late. I chose the wrong dice.
All right, choose which ones.
Roll actually, 1d6 for me, please.
A d6. Oh no, I don't know whether it's high or low. Hopefully the middle. Oh, 5.
5.
Yes.
Okay. All right. The trying to sort of hover completely level above this ridgeline requires pretty much all of your concentration, and as you are in the process of doing it, you get distracted by the hatch opening and Sever leaping out. And in this moment of distraction, you slightly lose the control of it, and the launch just drifts a little way away from the ridgeline.
Oh no!
And Sever
Bye, Sever.
doesn't
the ridge.
Sever doesn't quite make the jump.
Oh
Hold on a
no!
second.
R.I.P. Sever.
To be fair, he betrayed us.
That's true. I don't
He
feel too
deserves
bad
all
about
he gets. I don't know what we're going to tell Reggie, though.
that.
Yeah, he'll be back any day now, Reggie.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'm sure he's fine.
He misses the ridge line and hits the slope, which is very steep. You understand at this point, it's a fairly steep mountainside, and begins to slide and skitter down the side of the slope, and he falls, but only just far enough to drop onto the rails of the mass transit system.
Oh no! Okay.
He seems to be hurt, but not horrifically.
Okay.
He picks himself up, throws a not entirely happy glance up at your launch.
He chose that. The lake's a bigger target.
Yep, you're not wrong. And he disappears into the tunnel.
Okay. So I will turn back to Steph and say, right then, let's go shopping.
Stefan will just send him a quick message. All okay? Question mark. I'm assuming it's we've got each other's contact
you've got
details
communications with him. Yep, I'll be all right. I'm heading through the other side to see if there's an easier way up onto the ridge. Get out of here before you attract attention.
Let's go shopping.
On the way up, Sarai's going to drop a message to Kara and say, we've dropped Sever off. We can't fully trust Schmidt yet. Is there any way that you guys, before you disembark, you could get hold of his communicator or computer and plant some kind of bug in it to track for if any sort of communication between him and Sever?
Okay. Kara, I need you to do electronic.
Okay. The dice have gone cold.
This will be education plus your electronics computer.
Okie dokie.
Sorry, electronics comms.
Okay, that's even better. Oh, so and I'm using my computer. Can I use my computer for that, for the extra one as well?
Yes, you can, for a +1.
Then that's 7 plus 5 is 12.
Okay. Yes, you can absolutely. You're pretty confident. You're pretty confident, unless he's very, very alert. You will have probably bugged him, tracked him, got him low-jacked, if you like.
Cool, fantastic. That's good to know. We don't know him really. All we know is some people tried to grab him around the throat and beat him up a bit, and someone nicked 50 mega credits off him.
Yeah, but we know him a bit better. Should any communications occur?
To be fair, the people who treated him so horrifically are now probably miles away.
That is true.
They probably jumped somewhere by now.
Yeah, for all we know, they left system.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. And the other half of your conversation was Agnar, wasn't it? Contacting Deep Night, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I assume Agnar makes the most sense socially.
So. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got contact details for them, and you place through the call. immediately you get a response from Deep Night. It's one of those sort of quite efficient things where somebody's waiting for communications and will respond immediately, like it's a corporation, which it kind of is. And you get a response saying, yes, brilliant, we've been expecting you. Welcome to Giikur.
Thank you very much. We've been anticipating our arrival here for some time. Where can we liaise with yourselves?
Excellent. You should come to the Deep Night Corporation offices. We have a facility on Venti. That's towards the sort of southeast of the city.
On World.
Oh, yes.
Just because he doesn't know what's going on here.
Yes, you'll find the starport is, well, it's a dump, because the idea is that they don't really want visitors staying at the starport. Down here they want you to come down and stay in hotels and enjoy the culture and the language and the food and possibly the animals, if you're into that sort of thing.
Wonderful. Certainly, some of our crew will be. Can we land at Venti, or do we need to land at the spaceport and make our way there?
You can either dock at the spaceport and then come down to Venti, either on a shuttle direct from the spaceport or bring your own craft down. Ideally, you should either land. There is a small airport effectively on Venti, and you can land your shuttle there, or take a shuttle from the starport, from the orbital starport down to that. Or of course you could bring your whole ship down to the downport on Elia. If you do that, bear in mind mooring fees on Elia are very high.
Tourism, yeah.
But do they
Yes.
do they have refueling capability?
The starport offers refined fuel, and the downport does as well.
Okay. And he'll quickly add in. I'm sure my team have already checked this out, but are there any restrictions on World? Is there anything we should be aware of?
Well, don't break laws, that kind of thing.
Law.
Do you have something more specific in mind?
Law level wise, what can we bring protection onto the planet? I'm sure it's not needed, but we're accustomed to.
Yeah. Generally speaking, they're okay with weapons. They don't like explosives, and they don't like concealable things, body pistols, stuff like that. But if you need a rifle or a more conventional handgun, no problem at all.
Perfect. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Brilliant. We'll look forward to it. Yes, we'll be ready whenever you arrive. The truth is, our headquarters is manned 24/7, and we're excited to meet you all.
Agna will say, we expected nothing less. We look forward to arrival.
Brilliant. Okay. And with that, she signs out, and immediately, because they've kind of paid for the privilege, as soon as you sign off any kind of message, you immediately get blatted with the advertising poster for Earth Park again.
Wonderful.
It's fine by me. Definitely
And that, I think, is where we have to call it for this evening.
Fantastic. Staring at Earth Park, as it should be.
It's about that time. I can't believe it. It's flown by.
It does
It's
go
like
quick,
a week
doesn't
went
it?
past. But quicker.
Thank you everyone who's watched to the end. It's much appreciated. So as before, follow us on Twitter @BoysBaltic. We move the videos across to YouTube sort of a week or so behind, and that's Boys from the Baltic Star as well. Otherwise, we'll be back next Thursday for a chat, I'd imagine, and next Friday for a sesh.
Yes, the next episode.
Until then, have sweet dreams of Earth Park, and we'll see you soon.
Good night.
Bye.
Goodbye.